All right, focus questions for chapter 28. Three focus questions here for chapter 28, getting into the post-World War II America. Number one, what did the Marshall Plan do and how did it benefit Europe? Oh, and I just want to remind you, you're not responsible for any of these. That's why I'm actually just doing them online. So if you want to pay attention, you can pay attention. If you want to learn, you can learn. But this is all optional to view. I will not assign these particular focus questions this year. But so here we go, guys. What did the Marshall Plan do and how did it benefit Europe? Well, first of all, guys, the Marshall Plan's after World War II. Remember that Europe is ravaged from World War II. Much of it, much infrastructure damaged, on top of, obviously, the lives lost. The U.S. offers aid to help rebuild Europe. And there's a lot of reasons why we do this. Some is like goodwill. We want to be this world leader. It's just the right thing to do. But also, part of it's this kind of containment idea. Strong economies will prevent communists from winning elections. And a strong economy also means Europe will have a stronger military. And if Europe has a stronger military, it'll be harder for the Soviets to invade if they want to. And we do believe that the Soviets want to invade Europe because of what we see going on in Eastern Europe. Canceling free elections that had been promised in Eastern Europe. And also, part of it is economic. Our economy needed our traditional trade partners to buy from, to sell to. So we needed Western Europe to do well so that we could do well and keep succeeding after World War II. But the Marshall Plan is oftentimes considered one of the greatest American foreign policy pieces of all time. What was the Soviet reaction? We offered it to all of Europe, even the Soviet Union, even to the Eastern Bloc, Eastern Europe, puppet states under the Soviet control. The Soviets rejected it and didn't allow the part of Europe, Eastern Europe, that they controlled to participate in it. So the Soviet reaction was not a warm one to this. I mean, if the Soviet Union accepted it, it's kind of admitting that the United States is on top in this Cold War world post-World War II. They're doing some construction way down the road. You can't see it from where I am. But it's starting to snow here. Beautiful Michigan, gray skies. Sweet home Michigan, where the skies are so gray. Kids aren't fighting yet. That's always a plus. I'm on top of my dock I haven't put in yet. But what is McCarthyism and how did it end? So Senator McCarthy was a U.S. Senator out of Wisconsin in the Republican Party. But he had friends in both parties, including the Kennedy family. Basically, there's this Red Scare, more accurately, the second Red Scare, post-World War II. And so as World War II ends, the United States starts to get very afraid of the Soviet Union and communists. And so basically, to make a long story short, hey guys, hey, you guys said you wouldn't fight? Shh, guys, no, good choices. Stay careful where you step, okay? All right, and so basically, guys, World War II is ending, and the Soviet Union is basically in a competition with the United States to see who can be the most influential, who can kind of control the post-World War II world. And so these tensions kind of spill over, and what you see like in Eastern Europe. And the U.S. is very upset that the Soviet Union isn't allowing free elections in Eastern Europe. But the Soviet Union's kind of looking at it as, we've been invaded through here before. Not just World War II, but maybe kind of World War I and Napoleon and this and that. And they kind of see it as part of their safety. They need to control Eastern Europe to protect their own borders. Think about all the lives. Soviet Union lost more lives than any other country in the eastern part of World War II. Or West, I guess West you should say. I was thinking Eastern Europe, but all of Europe. But you look here, guys, and this is very comparable to post-World War I Red Scare. Post-World War I Red Scare, where after World War I, the Tsar gets taken out. The Soviet Revolution, the rise of the communists, and the Soviet Union. And then America kind of goes into this Red Scare in the late 19-teens and 1920s. There's a lot of similarities between post-World War I and post-World War II. You have a first Red Scare, a second Red Scare, where America's afraid of communism, communist spies, people trying to help the Soviets. If you ever read Arthur Miller's play, or go to actually see the play, The Crucible, it's about the Salem witch trials, but he's really not speaking so much about the Salem witch trials and more on his era, this post-World War II Red Scare, where people are getting accused, sometimes falsely, sometimes with little evidence, sometimes with no evidence, of being communists, and it ruins their reputations, ruins their careers. And so that's what McCarthyism is, this Red Scare fear and this paranoia, accusing people of being communists. He accuses, Joseph McCarthy accuses many people of being communists with little or no evidence. And sometimes says he has a list and won't even produce the list, which draws more fear, more paranoia, and gets a lot of people on edge. And scares a lot of people. And it finally comes to an end with the Army McCarthy hearing. McCarthy is accusing people in the U.S. Army of being communist. And the fact of the matter is, this trial gets a lot of coverage. And he had promised not to out some guy that he had kind of accused somebody of something, of being a communist with very flimsy evidence, some dentist. And the fact of the matter is, he goes ahead and does it anyways after agreeing not to, and he's told, have you no shame, have you no decency? And at that point, McCarthy's popularity starts to wane, and McCarthy kind of falls to the wayside here. The last question here for the focus questions here is, how did Eisenhower balance covert actions, the Cold War, and peace? Eisenhower, he's president. He's elected 1952, re-elected 1956. So he's a two-term president, 8-year president. Ike, first of all, used the CIA to topple governments that worked against our interests. The most infamous case of this would be Iran. Some people say, that sets us up for some of the problems that we have with Iran today. As you probably know, we have severe tensions with Iran for many, many years. And a lot of it comes from, we helped topple an Iranian government. The Iranian government was taking Western, especially British, property. The Iranian government had encouraged the British companies and stuff to build infrastructure for, part of the oil industry and stuff like that. And then the Iranian government started taking it over after they had encouraged it. The British government pushed Eisenhower to do like a joint toppling of the Iranian government, and we did it. However, as wrong as that was, at least the government that we set up in the meantime did allow minority rights and women rights more than the previous, or the government even after the fact, after our government got removed. But we'll get to that under Jimmy Carter at a different time. But he quickly ends the Korean War that he inherited from Harry S. Truman. Truman kind of started the Korean War, and he kind of felt like he had to, because the Korean War started under Truman. Truman was widely criticized for not being strong enough against communism, especially as he let China turn communist under his watch without doing anything. A lot of people felt like it was America's responsibility to stop such actions, and the fact that he didn't do it upset a lot of people. The Korean War was kind of dragging on from 1950 to 1953, and Eisenhower campaigned saying he's going to end it. He's going to end it quickly with dignity. And he does put in place a peace, kind of like a peace agreement, but you can see there's still tensions between North Korea and South Korea to this day. But he fulfilled his campaign promise to quickly end the war, get the American soldiers home. Well, I guess we've lost some American soldiers there ever since. The Suez Canal crisis. The Suez Canal is a major part of the world infrastructure, linking the Mediterranean Sea down to the Red Sea, so you can kind of bypass going down and around Africa if you're taking a boat from Europe to the Pacific Ocean, Asia area. And so the fact of the matter is, after World War II, Egypt started to take back they had been colonized. They started to take back their own land and their own things. They took over the Suez Canal, which runs through Egypt, the Sinai Peninsula area. And the fact of the matter is, Britain, France, and Israel were going to gang up on Egypt and take this back. And to make a long story short, Eisenhower steps in and says, no, we're not going to do this. We're going to be no different than, you know, the Axis powers we just fought that have been taking over, colonizing, taking over places. We're not going to take this over. The Soviet Union had jumped in on Egypt's side too, so there's a chance that this could break out into a bigger war. And Eisenhower threatens basically to do some economic punishments against our own allies, to get our own allies to back down in the Suez Canal crisis. A lot of people say this is a good foreign policy piece of Eisenhower, if not the Iran toppling thing, which most people say was a poor choice. He proposes atoms for peace, that the Soviet Union, the United States would build nuclear power plants around the world, to reduce the amount of uranium for peaceful things instead of being used to make atomic weapons, also to help uplift third world poverty, and then also the US and the Soviet Union would work together on this, and our scientists, our security guard, our construction people would work hand in hand and essentially build friendships. This didn't really get very far. Open Skies didn't get very far either, although later there's kind of a semi-implementation. But Eisenhower says, you know, a lot of the tensions in the Cold War is we don't know what you're up to, you don't know what we're up to. And he proposes that each country would get 2 airports in the other country, no weapons in the airports, all the planes you want with all the cameras you want though, but no bombs. And you could fly all over the other country, taking as much pictures so you're less suspicious. Soviet Union kind of declines this later. There's a semi-implementation though. But one thing I really like with Eisenhower here in the Cold War, it's cold outside right now. It's starting to snow. I don't know if you can see it in the camera. Just faint paces of...
It's getting cold out. It's cold at war and it's getting cold out here.
Yep. And, all right. But he gives this speech. Eisenhower wanted to reduce overall military spending. We had this large conventional army, like a World War II style army. He said we don't need a large World War II armies. We would reduce overall spending by dramatically reducing conventional military spending. But what we'll end up doing is we'll spend more on new military technologies, radar, missiles, things like that. We want the best technology, but we need to cut overall military spending. Here's a speech he gives where he talks about this emphasis on needing to cut overall military spending.
Oh, yes.
There's Stripey the cat. And so look right here. Here's his speech. I gotta show you the lake here as we kind of go. Guys, here's Eisenhower's speech. All right. Every gun that is made, every warship launched, every rocket fired signifies in the final sense a theft from those who hunger and are not fed, those who are cold and not clothed. This world in arms is not spending money alone. It is spending the sweat of its laborers, the genius of its scientists, the hopes of its children. The cost of one modern heavy bomber is this: a modern brick school in more than 30 cities. It is 2 electric power plants, each serving a town of 60,000 population. It is 2 fine, fully equipped hospitals. It is some 50 miles of concrete pavement. Eisenhower loved building highways. We pay for a single fighter with 500,000 bushels of wheat. We pay for a single destroyer with new homes that could have housed more than 8,000 people. This is not a way of life at all, in any true sense. Under the cloud of threatening war, it is humanity hanging from a cross of iron. This is the Chance for Peace speech. A lot of people call it the Cross of Iron speech because they mirror it to William Jennings Bryan's Cross of Gold speech when he's talking about the populist and the need to kind of cut down on the gold standard, remove the gold standard, help the farmers out, remember, who want free silver. And so my kids right there are actually playing lava. The floors, the ground's lava, and they need to use things like bricks and stuff to step on so they don't touch lava. Be careful, you don't want Stripey to hit lava. And Alice wanted me to say that she's not actually CGI, that she's real. Is that, are you a real girl, Alice? No, she's CGI. Best CGI I've ever, best CGI ever. Can Stripey, does Stripey want to say something? Okay. Dan, do you want to say anything?
We're not CGI!
All right. And I just want to apologize for the poor construction quality. My poor film quality and everything, and I'm doing it one time straight through. All right, buddy. All right, have a good day. Oh, Minecraft sword. Have a good day, guys. Stay safe. Listen to what the CDC says about social distancing, washing your hands, coughing into your armpit, elbow pit, all of that. That I made a mistake. And so, guys, be safe. Hey, but stay involved. Try to keep up paying attention to academic stuff. You know, nothing's required, but, you know, hey, prepare for, you know, just your future life by staying active and learning. And you can see a swan out there. It's starting to snow. Have a good day, guys.